Hello, my name is Linda Eanes, and I am the 4-H agent in Cumberland County, and I invite you to join me as I read a book entitled The Language of Birds. And the language of birds is a bit of a folklore tale, and it is written by Rafi Martin and Susan Gaber. So come with me and enjoy. Long ago, in a land beyond 9 oceans, there lived a wealthy merchant who had 2 sons. Vasily was the older and Ivan the younger. One day the merchant said, "The time has come to see how you will fare in the wide world. Here are 10 gold coins each. Return in a week and tell me what profit you've gained." Vasily took his coins, went to the fair, and spent his money on every pleasure, eating and drinking until his gold was gone. Ivan went into the green forest, where he heard a baby bird cheeping piteously. He found the little bird where it had fallen and returned it to its nest. The mother bird flew around him, chirping, "Thank you, kind youth." "You're welcome, little mother. But how is it that I understand you?" "Kindness makes it possible, if just for a moment," answered the bird. "Ask me now for something that a bird might give, for I want to repay you." Ivan thought, then he said, "I wish I could always understand the language of birds." "Done," chirped the bird in delight. "Come back each day for 1 week, and I'll teach you." When a week had passed, both sons returned home. "Boys," said the merchant, "tell me what you gained, for gain is the most important thing." "I went to the fair," said Vasily. "There I spent my gold entertaining the sons of very wealthy merchants. I made no money, but in the future I shall profit from their friendship." "Excellent!" cried the merchant. "Now you, Ivan." "Here are all 10 coins back, father," said Ivan. "What?" exclaimed the merchant. "But what did you do?" "Well, I went to the forest," said Ivan, "and learned the language of the birds. It cost nothing." "No one can understand the language of birds," shouted the merchant. "Tell me, you who claim to know so much, what is this little wren singing just outside our window?" "She sings," said Ivan, "that one day I shall be a prince with 100 horses, each wearing a coat of silver and gold, and you shall bring me water in a silver bowl to wash my hands and a fine white cloth to dry them. Vasily shall tend my horses." "Wretch!" roared the merchant in rage, "to invent such a tale! Serve you, indeed! You can spend this night with your friends, the birds. Let them serve you." Then Vasily was brought into the house and feasted royally, while Ivan was locked out in the cold and the dark. But little birds brought him berries to eat and sang so sweetly to him that he slept without a care. The next morning the merchant said to his sons, "I am sending you to a sea captain I know. Give him this letter, and he will give you work. You, Vasily, will receive a good position, and Ivan, well, he'll find something for you to do." The 2 brothers walked along the road. "Why didn't you make up a believable story like mine?" asked Vasily, instead of telling that outrageous tale of birds. What? Exclaimed Ivan with surprise. Didn't you spend your money on the merchant's sons? Not at all, said Vasily. I spent it all on myself. But my story is true, protested Ivan. Vasily just laughed. When they came to the harbor, the captain read the letter and asked Vasily, "What would you like to do?" Vasily responded, "Besides the captain, who's the most important person aboard?" "The pilot," answered the captain. "Through knowledge of winds, tides, and currents, the pilot guides us safely to our harbors." "I know all about such things," said Vasily. "Wonderful!" exclaimed the captain. "The job is yours. Now, Ivan, what do you think your skills are?" "Well, I'm not sure," said Ivan, "but whatever needs doing, I'll do my best." "Well, that shows good spirit at least," said the captain. "For now, take a mop and swab the decks." Soon the anchor was hoisted, the wind filled the white sails, and the ship set out into the blue sea. A band of cranes flew overhead. Ivan listened to their cries. Then he said to Vasily, "The cranes warn of a bad storm. They say that no ship should leave the harbor." Vasily said, "Don't be a fool." But soon the sky grew dark, the waves rose hungrily, and the wind began to howl. The sails were torn to shreds before the storm passed on. The ship limped back to the harbor. The captain stormed at Vasily. "You're supposed to warn us of such things." "It was a freak storm," said Vasily. "Rig the sails again. It will be safe in the morning." The next morning, with new sails rigged, the ship set forth once more. A flock of swans flew overhead. Ivan listened. Then he said, "The swans warn that pirates lurk in the cove ahead and that we should turn back before they attack." "Ridiculous!" snorted Vasily. But sailors overheard Ivan's warning and went to the captain. "What's this about pirates?" said the captain, stepping out onto the deck. "And I hear that yesterday you were warned about the storm." "My brother is a simpleton and a dreamer," laughed Vasily. "He thinks he can understand the language of birds, and that they warn him of danger." "He was right about the storm," said the captain. "Let's see about the pirates." "Lower the ship's boat," he ordered. The sailors rowed the small boat away. Soon they could be seen rowing speedily back. "Haul us up," gasped the exhausted sailors. "There are pirates ahead. Ivan has saved us." "Good youth," said the captain, bowing before Ivan. "Please be our pilot. You have saved our lives." To Vashti he said, "Take the mop from Ivan. You shall swab the decks." The next day they set out again, this time under Ivan's wise guidance. They sailed past all dangers and arrived safely in the kingdom of Tsar Demyan, a monarch so wealthy even his horses wore coats of silver and gold. The captain said, "Stay with us, Ivan. You are the best pilot on the 7 seas, and your fortune will be made." Ivan answered, "Thank you, but as I have always loved the green forest, I shall now return to the land." So the brothers collected their pay, bade farewell to their shipmates, and set off. In town they came upon this proclamation: "Night and day 3 crows call at the window of the great Tsar Demyan, keeping him from sleep. The hero who drives them away shall receive the hand of his daughter in marriage, and half the kingdom. Those who fail shall die." Chase 3 crows and win a princess and half a kingdom? Exclaimed Vasily. That's the job for me. Careful, brother, said Ivan. Don't be hasty. Failure means death. But Vasily was already on his way. Soon he stood before the Tsar. Caw, 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 croaked the crows. Silence! Thundered the Tsar. Caw, 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 continued the crows. My daughter's hand is yours, sighed the Tsar, if you quiet them. Prepare the wedding, your majesty, said Vasily with a bow. Vasily went back to town and caught cats, hungry, scrawny, skinny cats. He brought them to the palace and set them free. The cats heard caw, 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 and at once leapt onto walls, clambering up trees, and clawed along vines, chasing the 3 crows, giving them no rest. At last the exhausted crows flapped their weary wings and flew away. Clever lad, yawned the Tsar in sleepy delight. Tomorrow you shall marry my daughter and share the riches of my kingdom. But today I shall sleep. And he closed his eyes and sank into slumber. Vasily did a tiptoe dance, delighted with his own cleverness. Tomorrow I'll be rich, he sang softly. Tomorrow. But then, caw, 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 Vasily stopped singing and dancing. The sky grew dark. Caw, caw, caw. A huge flock of crows mobbed overhead. They dove at the cats and drove them away. Then the flock flew off, leaving only the 3 crows again at the Tsar's window. Caw. The Tsar woke in anger. Off with his head, he roared. In town, Ivan heard a little bird chirping. Foolish cats, beaten by crows. My brother's plan has failed, said Ivan. I must help him. Soon Ivan stood before the Tsar. Your Majesty, he said, I will bring peace. Go, 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 cried the crows. Ivan listened carefully and said, Sire, the largest crow is the king. Beside him is the queen. Next to her stands her son, the prince. They have come to ask a question which perplexes them. Whose advice should a child follow, the father's or the mother's? The Tsar scratched his head and tugged his beard. The 3 crows watched in silence. At last Tsar Demian sat up on his throne and announced, Many young warriors arrive at our court, hungry and tired, wearing dirty, rumpled, and torn clothes. It is as if they never learned a thing that a mother might teach. They may know how to swing a sword and hurl a spear, but nothing of how to care for themselves. And why shouldn't a daughter learn from her father how to ride a horse, parry a blow, shoot an arrow, and chop firewood? My answer is this. Let sons and daughters learn all they can from both parents. The crows bowed deeply. Then they flapped their shiny black wings and they flew away. It was quiet, so quiet. The Tsar clapped his hands, laughed aloud, and said, The world is filled with wonders. Who would have thought that in my own kingdom was a man who understood the language of the birds? Tomorrow we shall have our wedding, but today is for Great Tsar, sighed Ivan, sadly, for I would like nothing better than to marry the princess. I must ask for a different reward. Please free my brother Vasily. "Father," said the princess, stepping forward, "do free Vasily. He must attend the wedding, for tomorrow I shall marry Ivan. My mind is made up. Where shall I ever find another husband who is so kind, and who also understands the language of the birds?" "You are right," agreed the Tsar. "Guards, free that Vasily fellow, and now," he yawned, "to sleep." Ivan and the princess embraced. Vasily, released from prison, did another little dance for the joy of being free. The next day, Ivan and the princess were wed. Now, Ivan was a prince with a stable of 100 horses, each wearing a coat of silver and gold. One day, as Prince Ivan was setting out, he came across an old beggar. Ivan's heart was moved with pity. "Take care of this old fellow," he said to his attendants. "Give him some new clothes and an easy job." When Prince Ivan returned, the old man was waiting in fine new clothes. As Ivan got off his horse and approached, the old man burst into tears. "What is it?" asked Ivan in concern. "Long ago, before I lost my fortune," said the old man, "I was a rich merchant. I had 2 sons. The younger told me that one day I would hold a silver bowl and a white cloth for him, just as I am doing now for you." "Father!" cried Ivan in joy. "It is me! I am Ivan, your own son." Then how father and son hugged each other and wept tears of joy. The old father came into the palace and lived there with Ivan, his lovely wife, and Vashti, who now tended the horses. Indeed, everything turned out just as that little bird had said it would. And how, you may ask, do I know all this? Well, it's simple. Just the other day, a tiny bird flew to my window and told me all about it. Thank you.